Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to this tutorial. This is your channel AeroTJ and today we're gonna learn Premiere Pro. This is the one of the best available software for video editing, and if you don't have this installed then please send me an email on vk369mo@gmail.com and I will send you free copy. I'm gonna show you everything you need to know to create very cool looking videos. First, I want to show you this very short clip and then I will teach you how to do it. I also include official download link for Adobe Premiere Pro that you can download. So without further ado, let's go ahead and play the movie and then I'm going to show you how to create it. So let's get started with Premiere. The first thing you want to do is to create a folder. As you can see here, I have created this folder. I have named it New. I'm going to provide a link for all media files. So there you can also download this folder and work along with me. This way you are going to learn better and it's going to be more fun. Okay, so now we're gonna open Premiere Pro. Alright, so once you open it, it will ask you what you want to do. We're gonna create a new project. So I'm going to select this one and then we're gonna rename it. You can rename it whatever you want. And now we're gonna save it. So try to keep everything inside one folder. So we're gonna select that folder, then OK. So this is exactly what you will see. This is a brand new document. Now if you can click on Window Workspace, make sure you are in editing. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is to import your files and footage into the project. Click on this window and you can either export file from this or browser from here. So as you can see here, it is currently blank. So you can either right click, click import, or you can double click and it will open a new window or a new browser window. And you can select all your footage and all your files. We're gonna hit import. So this is gonna import all your files into your project. Sometimes it takes a few seconds depending on how large your files are. If you put your mouse on top of it, you can see a short preview about it. Alright, so now we're gonna create a new sequence. So in this part, we're gonna talk about timeline. This is gonna be the place where we are gonna be editing most of the time. So as you can see here, this column sequence is currently empty. So we're gonna fix it, and there are two ways to create a new sequence. First, you can either drag and drop a video here and it will automatically create a sequence, and that's gonna be the method we're gonna use right now. So I'm just gonna double click my video and is going to open a new window or a short preview on top. So here you can actually see the actual video before creating a sequence or before adding it to your timeline. And now here you can see use these controllers to play or to stop the video. So I'm just gonna hit play and I'm gonna hit a short preview of the video. Okay, there are a few other buttons that are quite important here, especially the mark in and mark out. I'm gonna show you how to use them. So in this example, I would like to start my video from here. So I'm just gonna hit mark in because it's gonna be the part that I'm going to use for my editing. I'm going to hit mark out. But first I'm going to decide what part of video I'm gonna use. So I'm interested in selecting only this lightning, the actual lightning of the match. So I'm just gonna hit mark out here. Okay, so now that you have selected the part of the video that you would like to add, we're gonna drag and drop it into the timeline. Now before you do this, we're gonna see down here that there are two buttons. One says drag video only, and the other one says drag audio only. So you can select if you only want to extract the audio or the video, but if you drag the whole video to the timeline, it's gonna add both, and that's what we're gonna do. Great. So now we have created a new sequence, or in other words, and your timeline. Alright, so we already have everything ready. We have our footage imported, we have our sequence created, and now it's time to start editing. So I'm going to show different tools that you're going to need to cut, to edit, to trim, to modify, and to play with your files. So we're gonna be working a lot on this timeline section. Okay, so in this timeline you have video layers and audio layers. So as you can see here, you have three: V1, V2 and V3. Those are for video layers. You can create as many as you want. You are going to play around with these buttons to see what they do. So for example, these one, if you will click this, going to block or is going to disable your file. Now then here you will also see some audio layers. You have three audio layers that you are gonna use for music, your sound and your soundtrack, and any other type of audio. So I recommend you play around with these buttons to see what they actually do. For example, you have the S that symbolizes solo track. If you hit this one and you have multiple tracks only, that track is going to play. You can also mute this track if you hit this icon, or you can record voiceover if you can click on the microphone icon, and so on. Now if you move this pointer, you are going to see the layer expanding, and here you see this line that represents the volume. So you can drag it up or down to adjust volume levels. So if we play this video file, you are going to see that you have no audio. It is completely silent. So there's not really a point to keep these audio level or these audio track down here. So we're gonna delete it. We click on the audio track, hit delete. You're going to notice that it will take everything away. So we don't want that. We want to keep only the video file. So we will do right click and click on unlink. This is going to separate the audio file from the video clip. As you can delete them or move them separately, you are gonna delete the audio file. Perfect. So now we have a clean video clip right here. Then we're gonna use for our project. Now just by looking at this clip, I think it's a little bit too long. Yes, so I will show you how to use a few different tools that are going to help you edit and adjust your footage. So as you can see here in this little section, couple of tools. This is the razor tool. This one is extremely useful. So we're gonna click on it and then click on the part of the clip that you want to cut. I'm just gonna cut it a little bit here, and then you just select that part and delete it. Now as an alternative, you can also click at the end of the clip and drag it according to your desire. So if you want to make it longer, just move to right. If you want to make it shorter, move it to the left. Alright, so now we are going to move to this upper window here. It represents what's going on your timeline. So you can hit play, stop, you can check frames. You can go back and you can just basically see what's going on the timeline. Now if you have a slow computer, these might be really hard for a computer. So I want to show you a trick that is going to help your computer run better and smoother. So if you see right here, there's a drop down menu. So this is basically the preview. So you can select the quality of the preview. If you click for full, it's going to take more time, more processing power. Now if you scroll down and you put it to 1.8 for example, is gonna make it way faster and the quality is gonna be not as good. So this is the quality just for a preview. It does not affect the actual footage. My preferred way is 1/4 is a good balance between good quality and speed. And we move to the left. You can see on our drop down menu, these basically control this zoom or the modification of the preview window. So I set it to 75% and you can really see the details. This is just in case you are editing something that requires a lot of detail. But for now, we're gonna select fit and we are going to leave it like that. Alright, so now I'm going to show you something that is gonna be very important when editing. You want to be fast and efficient, and using shortcuts is going to make your work more efficient and faster. So I'm going to show you how to use shortcuts. So we are going to help and keyword shortcuts. Here you can see all the shortcuts. You are going to see which key controls what. Just try to memorize as much as you can. It's gonna make your life way easier. Now we will go back to the project. Now we're gonna add another clip to the timeline. There's gonna be the flamethrower. Actually, so if you double click, it is going to open it up here. And now we're gonna play to see a preview of the video clip. Okay, start, select and end points. Yeah, this looks pretty cool. So I'm thinking to use the whole clip. There's no need to trim it. So now we're gonna add it to the timeline. It's quite simple, you already know this. So we're gonna click on the drag video on the icon and we're gonna drop it to the timeline. Perfect. So now we have both layers. Now the timeline is a little bit too big. So if you scroll down here and you move this pointer to the right or to the left, is going to actually zoom in and zoom out on your timeline. That's perfect. Now there's a blank space. I want to show you how to fix this space. So if do the right click here and click on ripple delete, that will delete the empty spaces. So now we're gonna hit play again and yeah, looks better. Okay, everything looks good so far. So now I'm going to talk about effects. So if you click where he says effects over here, that's gonna bring up the effects panel. So don't think about this is a special effects and like movies. These effects are quite different. So the thing about effect is to do the small modification to the video clips or add some video effects. Here you have audio effects, video effects and transitions. So if you click down, click video effects, and just to show you when I grab a random effect, just for this example, I'm going to use this blur effect and drop it onto my video clip right here. So once you drop it onto your clip, your face control are going to show up. And here you can adjust your effect according to the needs of that specific clip. So just for this example, I'm going to drag it to the right and you are going to see that intensity. This will affect the entire clip. So let's say for example that you want to apply only this effect to a specific part of the clip that. So here is where keyframes are going to be very useful. So we are going to activate the keyframes by clicking in these stopwatch. Here we are going to select two specific moments of this clip. Basically the start point and the end point. So going to start from here and up to this point, and at end I'm going to set the blurriness to 0. Okay, so if you look at the screen, it starts very blurry and then he stops on the second keyframe. Okay, perfect. That's basically how you use effects and keyframes. Keyframes are very important, guys. You are going to use them a lot. And now if you want to clear the effect, just right click and hit clear. Now before moving to the fun part, I just want to let you know one more effect that is called wrap stabilizer. This effect does an amazing job on stabilizing your footage. So let's say for example you shoot something with your hand holding your camera and your footage is quite shaky. You simply drag and drop this into your footage and it's going to look very smooth. This effect right here, guys, is a game changer. Okay, now we are going to move on to the fun part, that is sound effects on audio. We are going back to the editing panel and down here we are going to click the audio file and we're gonna start adding theme to the timeline. So the same as we did for the video clips, that will click on file and it's going to open it in the preview window. We are going to use the audio file named first and second now. You can listen to the entire audio file here. I am interested only using the second part. So I am marked in here and then I am going to move the cursor to the end of the audio file and then click mark out and then I am going to drag and drop it into my timeline. So drop it here and try to time it. According to your video, you can need to match the timing of the audio with the video. So for this, I'm gonna zoom in the time. And now we're gonna have to time it perfectly to the video files. So drag it a little bit. Make sure it looks right. So now we have the video on the audio of perfectly synchronized. So what's important is try to make it look as natural as possible. So now we're gonna adjust the volume. So if adjust this pointer which make this a little bit bigger, and you're gonna see a very thin line in these green audio file. So if you drag it down, is going to lower the volume, and if you draw it up, is going to make it higher. Now when you are working with audio files, there's something very important that you need to avoid. If you see here on the right, these bars are going to show you your volume levels. Always try to avoid hitting those red peaks. This going to make your video sound crappy. So make sure you are under those levels always. Now, sometimes you are going to have an audio file that one part is going to be very high and one part is going to be very low, and that's the case with this audio file. In the beginning of the file, the volume is quite high and the rest of the file is very low. So we're gonna just adjust the level. So we're gonna hold Control key under a keyword, and then you are going to click where you want to set your first keyframe. Then we're gonna insert a second keyframe. Now we're gonna grab this part of the clip and then we are gonna drag it down. That's gonna just a level of volume. So we're gonna drag it all the way down and we are going to test how he sounds. That's perfect. So now we're gonna add the audio for the second clip. So click on the audio file second. Now we're gonna grab the file and drop it into the timeline. The same as we did with the first file. This time I'm going to skip the preview and I'm going to drag it and drop it directly into my timeline. So place it under your second clip and make sure that timing is correctly. So you need to play with the timing here. You need to synchronize it so that the video on the audio looks natural. Whoa, that's amazing. Now we have a small problem here. The audio file is way shorter than a video file. As you can see here, the audio file only covers half of the video file. But before we fix that, make sure your volume is correct, and we're gonna have to do the same as we did before. As you can see here, at the beginning of the clip, the volume is quite high and the rest of the clip is a little bit low. So we're gonna try to adjust it. We're gonna do exactly the same as we did with the first clip. So Control key, your keyboard, and select two keyframes where you went. Adjust the volume, and that's going to give you control over two different parts of the audio clip. Okay, now the sound level are good and everything seems alright. Now there's a problem here. As I said before, the audio is shorter than the actual video clip. So we are going to right click and we are going to do duplicated. So just copy it and then we are going simply press Ctrl V to paste. So now we have two copies of these same audio file, and then I will delete the first part because the first part is the actual ignition of the gasoline. So we don't really need this. So I'm just gonna drag it onto this part so it disappears. Perfect. Now we're gonna put them together so that there is no empty space. We want to see how that sounds. It does not sound quite right. So here we use another layer. And this is going to be very useful. So we're gonna drag it to the second audio layer down here. And then we're gonna move it to the left. Okay, that sounds a little bit better, but you can still tell that there are two different files. Our goal is to make this transition as seamless as possible. So I want to swim in and we create some keyframes. Hold Control and click on two different points. So then we are going to drag their first point a little bit down so that the volume of this clip starts very low and it keeps constantly increasing. And this way you hardly notice the transition between two clips. Let's see how that sounds. So now we just have to synchronize the video with the audio. So try to look where the flamethrower actually ends, and that's where your audio should end as well. We are going to try to find the exact moment where you don't really see that fire anymore. Just above here. So we are going to hold Control key and click where you want the audio to end. We are going to insert another key from here. Most of the time you always insert two keyframes and we're gonna drag it all the way down so that there's no volume at all. I want to show you something really quick. If you right click on your footage and select speed duration, you can speed up, slow down or reverse your whole footage. For example, I'm going to show you what happens if I click on reverse speed, and I'm going to show you the results. You will see the footage becomes backwards. Okay, let's open the window again and we are going to remove the backwards effect. I'm going to increase the speed. Let's see how it works. You see the speed is much faster right now. You can also use this to slow it down. But for now, I'm just gonna put it back to 100%. And that's the speed of the normal footage. Okay, now let's see. You want to adjust add color or the brightness of your footage. You are going to click color button up here. That's going to bring up the color panel. And here on the right side, you're gonna be able to adjust. So here you can adjust the temperature of your file and you can also change exposure, shadows. You can make it brighter. You can also adjust contrast and highlights. Whites and blacks will give you a lot of control in order to move your footage look better. You can also open another section. We're gonna open the creative section, and here you can also apply the faded film. This is currently being used so much. A lot of YouTube use these effects. You can also apply filters to your film by selecting these drop down menu here. You can just play around. Now we're going to go back to the editing workspace. And if you see these very thin yellow line up here, that means that your timeline is not currently rendered. So that means that your computer has not fully perceived the file that you are currently working with. You can click on sequence and then render in to out, and that's going to render your timeline. This is very useful when working with large files or if your computer is quite slow. Okay, so now that we have a rendered timeline, you can play it and preview at full resolution. So we continue to full resolution and your computer is going to have no problem playing it out. Alright, so now I'm going to show you how to create a transition between one clip to another. So we are going to create a transition between the first clip and the second video right here. So to create a transition, we are going to bring up the fixed panel again this time. You can do it by clicking effects and then on video transitions. You will see some folders containing a few different transitions. How to use them is they are very simple. For this example, and when I grab that deep to black transition and drop it at the beginning of my second video clip, now let's see how that looks. I want to show you a different method to create this exact same transition. Now in these effects control, we know this is very useful. I use it every time. You can play with the scale and position of the footage. For example, I'm going to drag it to the right and he's gonna increase the scale of the video. You can also adjust the horizontal and vertical position of your video clip to reset back your footage to the original settings. Just click on this arrow and your footage is going to be back to normal. You can also do rotation of your video clip, but the part that we're gonna focus today is the selection opacity. This is very straightforward and very simple to understand. 0% means that your percentage of your video is going to be completely gone, 100%. It means that your video will be displayed at full opacity. So now we're gonna create a transition using opacity. So to do this, go to the end of your clip and we're gonna insert an opacity keyframe here. Simply click on the stopwatch icon and this is going to create a keyframe just where you are located in the timeline. Okay, so the last keyframe, it needs to be a 0% opacity because we want the video to fade down or to disappear. At this point, now we're gonna move the cursor a little bit to the left. This is going to place an auto keyframe and we're gonna say the opacity to 100%. This might seem a little confusing, but it will make sense once you see the results. You can adjust keyframes by moving it to the left or to the right, according to your desire. When I leave these keyframes just about here, I think that's look good. By the way, don't forget to click save. The Premiere Pro crashes a lot, so just be safe. Okay, now we're going to add the last touch to a project. Click on the audio file name voice. If you click play, you can see a preview of the audio file. So try to select your starts and endpoints. I think I like this. This sounds very cinematic. You are going to see the end results are going to be very cool. So I think I'm just gonna add the rest of the clip. So it drag and drop these audio icon down to the timeline, and we're gonna place it in the third layer of audio down here in the beginning. Now you are going to be very careful with something. Premiere Pro will automatically replace a file. If you put another file on top, let me show you what I mean. So if I drag and drop on top of an existing audio clip, this will replace it. And if you go back, you are going to notice that existing audio file had disappeared. So just be careful with that. Alright, so now we just need to synchronize and make sure the level are okay. The volume levels are okay for these audio clips. So I'm going to click this solo icon here to listen to this. Well, it looks okay, but I'm going to make it a little bit shorter. I would also like the audio of this clip to fade away at the end. So I'm going to insert 2 keyframes here. By clicking Ctrl key, and I'm going to lower the last keyframe all the way down. I'm going to do the same with the beginning of the clip. 2 keyframes and pull the first one. Everything sounds good. Don't forget to deactivate the solo track. I want to show you 2 more things and then we are done. The first thing I want to show you is how to use adjustment layers. So right click on this part, new item, and select adjustment layer. Okay, and then we are going to drag and drop this adjustment layer on top of your footage. So we're gonna extend it so that it covers the entire footage. Now this layer is super useful. Everything that is on your layer is going to be affected by whatever effect we apply to this layer. So if you want to apply a filter to the whole section, you can apply it to this layer and he will immediately take effect on the videos that are under this layer. Let me show you what I mean. So click on the color workspace and it's gonna bring up the color panel. Make sure your adjustment layer selected. If you click basic color correction, you're gonna get the option to input or to use some filters for your video. So just to give you an idea, when I put these filters, I'm going to preview my footage. You can see that it has changed, but I don't really like it. So I'm going to remove it by clicking none. But I want to plan an effect, so we're gonna all the way down and I would like to apply this to my adjustment layer. I think this looks pretty cool. Okay, so we have applied these to the adjustment layer and everything under this adjusted. Okay, we are done with this. We are going to switch to the editing workspace. Okay, so now I'm gonna show you how to create a new title. Titles are very useful and very common. Alright, so to creating title, we're gonna go to File, New Legacy Title. For this example, I'm just gonna write down my channel name. Okay, and the new title window will appear. Here you can create a new title. You can modify it, you can adjust. You can do whatever you want with a title. So make sure your type tool is select. Click anywhere and go ahead and write down text you want to use. we are going to increase the font size by dragging this part a little bit to the right. That looks alright. Now we're gonna change the font type to center. Use these two buttons, and now our text is perfectly centered. Here you can adjust the position, opacity. You can also change the color of your font, and you can add shadows and different effects. So once you are done designing your text, you are gonna close the window and your text is gonna show down here, your title. So drag and drop it into your timeline. Try to put it at the end of the last video clip. We're gonna make it a little bit shorter. We're gonna create a very short transition here just so that the text appears a little bit smoother. So we are going to open the effects control. Now we are going to create a keyframe, and this is going to create a very smooth transition. The opacity is going to go from 0 to 100, and it will create a very smooth appearance. And lastly, we're gonna add a little bit of motion to the title. At the fix control window, go to the beginning of your clip and activate the stopwatch. And that's gonna create your first keyframe at the beginning of your title. Now we need to create the second keyframe. Drag your cursor all the way to the end of your title and change the scale to bit higher. So I'm just gonna put it 2. Perfect. So we have 2 keyframes, and this will create the effect of the text expanding. Okay, now in order to make it very cinematic, we are going to add the widescreen bars. We can download the widescreen bars, so simply go to Google and type widescreen PMG and download it. I already have downloaded, so I'm using the same. Just make sure it has transparent background. Okay, now we simply drag and drop it on top of all the footage on the last video layer. And the last thing that you have to do is to adjust the scale. So drag the scale a little bit up until it fits exactly the frame. Alright guys, perfect. We are 99% done with the project. The very last thing that I'm going to do is to add background music to my project. I'm going to leave these up to your choice. I have added this song to the last audio layer all the way down here. I'm just gonna trim a little bit and make sure it covers the entire project. I want the audio to fade away, so I'm setting 2 keyframes and drag the last one all the way down. Awesome. Okay, guys, we are done editing. Now we just need to export and save the file. So go to File, Export Media, and it will open your export settings. Most of the time I'm using this H.24 format and present to high bitrate. You also have some YouTube preset, and if you are making your video for YouTube, you can use that as well. Now select the destination where you want to save your rendered file. Hit export and we are done. Now your computer will render all the project. It will take a few minutes depending on the speed of your computer. And when it's completed, you're going to able to see your very first edit with Premiere Pro. Okay, so the export is completed and you can see that the file has been saved. I hope you enjoyed, guys. Don't forget to click the subscribe button. Let me know if you have any questions and queries. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.